3, 2. Ah. Okay, so before I go on script, that's Max. Alright, today you're going to learn something and you have no choice. Because my last video was apparently offensive to certain people, and being attacked by 12-year-olds on the internet terrifies me. So I'm taking a different route with this one. As I did with this video, it's going in front of his face because that's the least important part. I found some more obscure stories, but this time I'm talking about cryptids instead of folklore creatures. In case you're unfamiliar with a cryptid, the definition is a creature that has been claimed to exist but has yet to be proven to exist. Let's get into my list of hand-picked horrors.
20 on the shot.
I'm going to start with the Big Muddy Monster from Murphysboro, Illinois, and yes, that is his real name that they gave him. This frightening fiend was interesting to me because most of the story actually came from the police. This one is actually pieced together from police reports.
It's like the Mothman.
Let's start with the story. A couple, Randy Needham and Judy Johnson, were in a parked car near the boat dock of the southwestern edge of Riverside Park, again in Murphysboro, Illinois, near a wooded area. When I say couple, it is important to note while they may have been romantically involved, Judy was married to another man. So they were having an affair. Anyway, they were doing something or other, although none of my sources would say explicitly. I think we all know what it was. They heard a loud screaming sound, and it wasn't Judy, coming from the direction of the woods. They looked to see what was interrupting their activities, and saw a large, light-furred creature that was covered in mud. It walked towards their car on 2 feet. Obviously, they weren't all about that particular threesome, so they hightailed it onto the police station.
The thing that bothers me about monsters like that is there are so many better names than the Big Muddy Monster of Murphysboro. If they're telling the friends at a dinner party that they saw a monster, it would be way more terrifying to say I saw the Muddy River Ripper.
As I said previously, it's important that they're having an affair, as going to the police station risked exposing that to Judy's husband, which is honestly the strongest evidence in this case that they actually did see something that scared Randy Flaccid. So,
his last name's Flaccid.
Holy shit.
That's Randy Flaccid.
I'm Randy Flaccid, and that's scary. Officers searched the area, and they found tracks in the mud, 3 to 4 inches deep, 10 to 12 inches long, and 3 inches wide. The officers also heard another scream, but they couldn't find the behemoth beast. The next evening, 2 teenagers, Cheryl Ray and Randy Creath, were sitting on Cheryl's front porch and spotted a white, hairy creature next to the woods and called the police. While on the scene, a neighbor said his 5-year-old son had just come inside saying he'd seen something by the woods. Here, it should be noted that Cheryl and Randy did not tell anyone of what they saw other than the police. The police went down a rough path of crushed grass and broken branches in the woods and noted a stench and slimy film on some trees.
This is just the most generic monster shit.
It's Bigfoot mixed with any other.
Right. It's just like,
well, what's a gross adjective? I don't know. He's big and hairy, and he smells.
It's like creeping up on you, and it's like, oh, damn, you smelly. Oh, like, oh, lumbers on off, sliming up the trees as he goes.
They called the dog handler onto the scene, whose name I won't say because he was an. He had the dog track the smelly smell to a barn, but wouldn't go inside. So the dog handler picked up the poor pup and threw it inside like a psychopath. Fortunately, the dog came out uninjured, but quivering and terrified. After the poor pup came out fully intact, the police went into the barn and found nothing except for a profound stink. On July 7th, 1975, so 2 years later, the creature was spotted by carnival workers, described as, or a creature, they think it's the same, but described as 7 to 9 feet tall, probably from 300 to 400 pounds, and he was observing the carnival ponies. All in all, I don't think the big dirty smelly boy was the villain in the story arc. He just liked ponies and watching people who were about to get it on. I think we can all say that due to the harmless nature of this creature, the townspeople raised a big stink for no reason. This one actually has deaths associated with it. So this murderous monster is half man and half goat, or sometimes sheep, with short horns on his stupid greasy head. He lives under, by, or on, depending on the story, the Trestle Bridge on Norfolk Southern Railway, which passes over Pope Lick Creek. in Louisville, Kentucky.
Such a Kentucky name, Poplick. If I was to guess one place in the world where they'd name something Poplick,
Kentucky?
it'd be Kentucky. Yeah.
Out of the creatures on this list, this dastardly degenerate is definitely the meanest, other than the aforementioned dog handler. His whole shtick is murder, and that's about it. He uses, also depending on the story, a siren's call, voice mimicry, or some type of hypnosis to lure people onto the tracks below to be run down by a train. Or they look at him and get scared and then fall on the tracks. Or he just drops them. Or he splits their head open with an axe and then drops them. The possibilities are endless. In fact, sometimes he puts on his Evel Knievel cape and helmet and does the jumping himself onto the roofs of passing cars.
It's weird to me how they invented a creature to rationalize people getting hit by a train.
Long story short, if you summon him by going onto the bridge, he's going to turn you into Goatman kibble via train. Unless you're one of the poor souls who happen to drive by when he's feeling daring enough to turn himself into a flesh torpedo. The tales of origin vary. In some versions, he's a circus freak who vowed revenge for his mistreatment. In others, he's a farmer who sacrificed goats in exchange for satanic powers.
Circus freak is...
Circus freak? That's the one?
I'm going with that.
That's the one?
Farmers are like, they're down to earth. I'm gonna chop your head and I'm gonna eat you up. But the circus freak?
That doesn't remind me of any farmer I've ever met. The interesting thing about this one is that several people have actually died and several more were injured. Of course, it's a bridge that trains frequently cross and sits about 80 feet above the ground, but survivors often say that they did not hear or see a train until it was dangerously close. Because of the bridges, or Goat Boy's death toll, the area is now fenced off and made very clear no one should climb on the bridge. My hot take? The only killer here is a lack of common sense. Alright, to finish up, we head back to Illinois to take a look at the Enfield Horror. The first sighting of this baleful beast occurred on April 25th, 1973. About 9:30 that night, Henry McDaniels and his wife returned home to their 2 children who told them about a thing that was trying to get into the house by scratching at the door. He wasn't worried about it, and normally I would say that would make him a bad father, but that's what I'd tell my parents if he was trying to get into the house, so I'd see why he wouldn't think it was a problem.
Oh, I get it.
A short while later, old Hank heard a scratching at the door and opened it, assuming it was a cat or dog. But looking down, it was not a fluffy feline. Instead, he saw a 3-legged grayish creature with short arms and pink eyes the size of flashlight. It stood 4.5 feet tall. The thing tried to get into the house. It didn't even ask. Henry apparently was not fond of such a lack of manners, so he slammed the door on it and grabbed a flashlight and his .22 pistol. Then reopened the door and promptly shot at the gray ghoul. The creature then hissed at him as if he were the ill-mannered house guest and then bounded across the yard. After the awful aberration...
Get rid of those!
After the awful aberration hightailed it into the woods, McDaniels called the police. He stated that the freakish fiend covered 50 feet in 3 leaps.
No, he didn't! He has 3 legs!
Upon investigating, the police saw that the siding of the house had in fact been scratched, and they found tracks in the yard. There were indeed 3 sets of feet, 3 feet per set of tracks. They resembled the tracks of a dog, but with 6 toes instead of 4. 2 were 4 inches wide, so the front 2 were 4 inches wide, while a third was smaller.
It's just his dick!
Henry encountered the creature again, actually.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't.
Well, Henry said so.
Henry is a dirty liar.
Henry said with his own mouth.
This is a lemur. It's a lemur. They saw a lemur. It's got a long tail. That's its 3rd leg. And then it's like on 2 hind legs with a big eye.
Illinois is actually a hotbed for these cryptids. You know that?
Yeah. No, absolutely. Illinois, Wisconsin, the place around the Midwest up here. Absolutely.
Who knew?
Yeah.
Hey, we'll go
because like there are woods and
There are woods and it's true. After the reports came out, hunters flocked to the town, 2 of which, Mike Mogul and Roger Tappy.
Mike Mogul?
These people just aren't real. Claimed to see a small gray monkey moving swiftly.
It's a lemur. You gotta put into context that during that time, it's like anything was completely possible. 60% of the population was just perpetually tripping. Like... the other 40% was at danger of being murdered. Alright, recap. Recap what we went through here.
First one was the big muddy monster of Murphysboro.
That one, that kind of monster where there's like police involvement. Yes, the police were called. It didn't like kill anybody, but like it was a big creature. Multiple people saw it. It was like
they had like
similar
evidence,
right? They had like
tracks,
evidence of like some kind of anomalous thing existing, or like the Mothman is in that same way. Creatures like that where there's like a consistent
it's kind of hard to like truly discredit it.
Right. Creature number 2.
That definitely falls more in the realm of folklore. Like, people died on the bridge because people climbed up on a bridge because like, oh no, trains don't go by on this.
Yeah,
There's
like you've met teenagers, right?
Yeah, that's a picture of a girl hanging up there because her friend got just railed. Literally.
Oh, okay.
And the third one, the Enfield horror.
Okay, lemur. Look, the hands, the short humanoid hands,
eyes.
the red eyes. This is a tail. That's not a third leg coming out the back, facing backwards. It's a tail. We've
solved everything
except for the first one.
I really did think they saw something spooky. Honestly, one of the leading theories in my enormous brain is that Judy's husband or someone like that found out what was going down and decided to spook on them. See, because there were tracks there and they were bigger than humans, and obviously, like those two were like fucking each other in the car.
My idea is that those
being and cheating, so it's not like, you know, they're not going to go to the police for no reason.
The actual evidence, the tracks are just big human foot size. I mean, I know people with feet that are bigger than a foot.
Yeah,
you know, like, and wider than 3 to 4 inches. You know,
my feet are wide.
I would consider myself a connoisseur of feet. But I think that they saw somebody dressed up as something.
I think we solved the cases. No. Subscribe, like, comment, send me DMs telling me how cute I am and how much worse my brother is. I already said all I need to say for an outro. Subscribe, like, comment, socials, buy my merch. Bye.